his body, I can construct a new Gallifrey.
My battle is in there, saving my daughter.
I swear, I won't stop you.
Welcome back to the Nerdy Grail, and literally about 2 minutes ago, I have just come from watching Doctor Who Season 2, Episode 8, The Reality War, and oh my goodness, I am just blown away with what I've seen. There's things that have happened in that episode that I just thought couldn't possibly happen. There were so many returns, so many things that I was disappointed in, so many things that I was overjoyed about. This is going to be one of the most complicated reviews I have ever done. In fact, it's going to be probably a bit of a jumbled mess, so you're going to have to forgive me. So I'm just going to jump straight in. I'm going to do this more of, not necessarily going over the plot, but going over some of the big aspects of this story and what we were all thinking as fans and what was going to happen. Okay, so let me talk about the Ranis. Okay, so you've got, obviously, Archie Punjabi and Mrs. Flood's Ranis. I'm a little bit disappointed, to say the least, because probably about 30 minutes into the story, we lose Archie Punjabi's master, Rani. She gets eaten by Omega, which I'll explain that when we get to that. So she gets wiped out, and then Mrs. Flood's incarnation escapes. So for all we know, we could see Mrs. Flood again in the future, which will be really, really interesting. I do like Anita Dobson, and keeping her around is an interesting way to go about it. So unfortunately, Archie Punjabi's incarnation of the Rani, as far as we're aware, has vanished, and we've just got the Anita Dobson Mrs. Flood. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. However, one thing I will say is we do finally get a good interaction between the Rani and Melanie Bush. What I wanted to happen last episode, but we got in this episode, because in this episode, the Doctor's able to snap everyone out of the Wish World by going back to the Time Hotel from Joy to the World, bringing some of that time energy through, cancelling out the Conrad Wish World, which is how we're able to get the modern day unit building and all back and all the characters we know and love. And so we get a good interaction with Mel and the Rani. And I think that is really, really good because Mel's angry at the Rani. She hates the Rani for what happened in Time and the Rani. So I love their interaction. It's so fun, so playful, banterish. I love it. You get obviously other returning characters as well, like Rose Noble comes back, although unfortunately again, Yasmin Finney, I'm sorry, but again, you were wasted in this story. You're a brilliant actress, but I'm just sorry, you didn't really do anything. The Vlinx again pops back up, but again does nothing. You know, it's really unfortunate. We got these big characters and big parts of the new Whoniverse, but just don't seem to do an awful lot. And they were just there, like I was worried about, there for their sake. And that is the big problem I have with characters such as the Vlinx and Rose Noble in this story. Obviously, the big return was for Omega. I am very disappointed with what they do with Omega. They build Omega up so much. Omega is in one scene in the entire story. It's about a 3-4 minute scene, and he's turned into a gigantic CGI skeleton from the Neververse or the Underverse. He eats the Rani, and then the Doctor shoots him with the Vindicator, sending him back to where he came from, and that's it. Obviously, we actually did get someone who voiced Omega because he had a few new lines. But what a waste of Omega. And again, like Sutekh last season, I was concerned about this. Bringing back a big villain and underusing them heavily. So I was very disappointed in Omega's treatment. The design of him looked cool, but was nothing. He didn't even fully come out of his prison or tomb, as they like to call it. But I did call it, though. The Seal of Rassilon up in the Bone Palace was going to turn into the Seal of Omega. But yeah, so Omega disappointed me as well. You know, Conrad was sort of forgotten about. We got this whole underlying plot that obviously because Poppy's real, Poppy is actually the daughter of the Doctor and Belinda. They make a big thing about that. The vault that we saw in the teaser trailers was actually to hold Belinda and Poppy in so that Poppy ideally wouldn't vanish from the world when they reset it, which, you know, does end up happening, but then she does get reset in the end anyway. But when it all goes a bit pear-shaped and weird, to be honest, the whole Poppy thing. It actually really hurt my head, the whole Poppy thing. So I was a bit disappointed there. It just felt very underwhelming for the most part, this finale. And characters that should have done a lot, like the Rani, like Omega, were tossed aside. Another thing that I found was a little bit of a negative, and I'm sorry that I sound like I'm being a bit of a negative Nancy, but there is some things in this that I do really like, and we'll get to the big things shortly, is that Susan. No Susan Foreman. Again, he's teased Susan again. We got that little cameo from Carol Ann Ford in Interstellar Song Contest and on the TV in the last episode, Wish Will, but we didn't even have a reference to Susan. That was the insulting thing. So we had no Susan, and it was really unfortunate. I thought in this episode we would get at least a cameo from her. No Rogue as well. Rogue didn't appear again either. So, the Doctor travelling down to the Underverse meant nothing. He didn't even end up going there, because right at the start of the episode, the Time Hotel's door opens and saves him as he's falling. So that was a disappointment as well. However, let's do now a little bit of go to the side now. So you've talked a lot of negative stuff about the episode and things that I've been disappointed in. Let me talk about some things that did shock me in a positive way. I will say, and these are major spoilers now, so if you haven't seen the episode, highly recommend. Go and watch Reality War now. So one of the biggest shocks for me, and although I did kind of suspect, I read something about it, is we actually get a mini multi-Doctor story, because yes, it's not the return of the fugitive Doctor, oh no, but it is someone from that era. We get Jodie Whittaker. The 13th Doctor returns for a fairly lengthy scene with Ncuti's Doctor, because at the end of this story, and it's another major spoiler, Ncuti regenerates. We actually get the Doctor regenerating. Ncuti's gone now. 15th Doctor is no more, and we're in the era of the 16th Doctor, but we'll get onto the 16th Doctor shortly. But Jodie Whittaker comes back basically in a bit of a, almost like a it'll be okay farewell sort of speech, and you did great, you're amazing. The interaction between the two of them is brilliant. Jodie saying, oh, you're gorgeous, you're beautiful, you're fantastic, and then Ncuti doing vice versa. I think it's quite funny because obviously Ncuti and Jodie, in terms of today's TV and everything, seems to get the most hate. So I think it's quite nice that they had a scene together to basically say, we're not terrible, we're great. And I thought it was brilliant. And I loved seeing Jodie back. She slipped right back into that Doctor role as if she never left. I know it's only been 3 years, but she was brilliant. But then after Jodie does vanish and Ncuti goes on a bit of a farewell tour for his regeneration, where he goes back to see Poppy and Belinda. Bit gutting he never went back to see Ruby one more time. I thought he could have done that. But he goes back to see Belinda, make sure she's okay. We find out that actually, all through the series, Belinda's actually been telling the Doctor, I need to get home for Poppy, and they show us little jump cuts between each episode, filling in the gaps, and finds out that Poppy's actually human, because after the reset, we find out that Belinda actually had a real human partner who Poppy is the daughter of, so it all makes sense in the end. But, and this is the big, massive thing, is the reveal of the 16th Doctor, because Ncuti does regenerate at the end, because he sacrifices himself in order to allow Poppy to be located and found safely. Ncuti starts to regenerate outside the TARDIS, under the light of Joy, who's a star, which we found out at the end of Joy to the World. He starts to regenerate. We thought we weren't going to see who it was. There was major leaks and spoilers all over the internet about it, but oh my goodness, yeah, we know who the 16th Doctor is. Billie Piper. Billie Piper. You heard correctly. Rose frickin' Tyler is the next Doctor. Obviously not Rose Tyler, but Billie Piper is the next Doctor. I'm really not sure how I feel about that. Don't get me wrong, I love Billie Piper. I loved her as Rose Tyler. I don't know what Russell's planning here. I don't know what's going on. It's going to be really weird, really bizarre, and there's going to be so many questions asked. I'm not sure how I feel about that, and I'm not sure how the internet's going to blow up about that. It feels like he's trying to relive another David Tennant fantasy again, but this time doing it with Billie Piper because he can't use David Tennant again. I'm really not sure about the use of Billie Piper. It's really worrying to me. I love her, don't get me wrong, but when that episode ended, I collapsed to the floor like, WTF, why? But yeah, so Billie Piper, the 16th Doctor. I'm going to be meeting her at the Comic-Con in August in Wales, so I'm looking forward to asking her a bit about that and how that came around. But yeah, how would I rate Reality War? Well, actually, I'm going to go back. Wish World, I gave an 8.5. I'm changing that right now. 8.5 was too high. I'm changing that to a 7, because upon rewatch, I didn't like it anywhere near as much. Reality War was such a mixed bag for me. I can't honestly say that I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It wasn't terrible, but I'm going to give Reality War slightly more than Wish World just for the Jodie Whittaker cameo alone. And I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's an alright story, But I'm just in shock, and I'm sorry this has been a very rambly review, but I'm lost for words. But I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please like it by giving it a thumbs up and comment down below your thoughts on the reality war and that reveal. I might even do a video talking about the 16th Doctor at some point. And subscribe if you are new. But for now, this is the Nerdy Grail signing off. I hope you've had an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now, everyone.